All right, everyone. Welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for June 12th through the 18th of 2017. All right, so I'm going to preface this video, as I usually do, saying that this is a different form of astrology than mainstream astrology. If you're new to the channel, be sure to check out the link down in the comment section or in the description down below, because you do definitely want to check that video out, so that little sort of article I have describing these this different system here. Okay, so what we're basically looking at here is the actual size and the location of the constellations in the sky. As you can see here, the constellations are all varying in sizes, but this is different from mainstream astrology. So the signs change. All right, so signs are different. So you'll definitely want to make sure you're watching this video for the right sign. So if you're new to the channel, do check that out. And then there's also a birth chart calculator down in the comment section where you can find out what your sidereal sun sign is, moon sign, and ascendant sign. And I do recommend watching this video for all three. If you know your time of birth, you can get your ascendant. Even if you don't know your exact time, you might be able to get your moon. In that case, sun and moon. Depending if the moon's right in between two constellations, you'll want to sort of take that into account. But if your moon's well placed in a sign, chances are you can get your moon sign as well without time. But I do recommend, watching this video for all three. If you know all three, gives you a more holistic picture. All right, so first we're going to look at this collectively for everybody, see what's going on this week generally, and then after that we'll look at the individual signs. After this general reading, you can click the timestamps down in the comment section, which will take you directly to your signs segment of this video. All right, everyone, so let's have a look at this week. We do have a bit going on, a little bit above average, I think, in terms of aspects. We do have some important things going on. We've got Neptune going retrograde, and I think this is very important because Neptune's forming a lot of aspects right now during this, what will be retrograde on Friday. And the moon will be going over Neptune on Friday at the same time, really emphasizing that retrograde. Plus, we've had Neptune squaring the sun. Neptune's going to continue to square the sun. That whole full moon we had last Thursday was squaring Neptune. Neptune's going to square Mercury this week. So lots of aspects with Neptune, which we'll dissect and look at deeper. And I think that's going to be playing a big role. I think the past few weeks, a lot of the emphasis has been on Uranus, which is the planet of freedom, of liberation, of bringing in more change and perhaps excitement in our life. But this week, I feel like it's more deeper, right? Neptune, which is almost it's the polarity of Uranus, where Uranus is more of what you might consider the masculine energy of action, of change, of revolution, the more initiating forces of life. Neptune is the more receptive forces of life, of receiving. And in this case, receiving inner guidance, inner intuition, and really going within to see where fundamentally we can have more acceptance in our life. All right, that's fundamentally what Neptune shows us, is where we can detach, where we can let go, where we can find more peace in our life. So with the retrograde, this all starts to go within. Now, Neptune's retrograde for about 6 months out of the year, give or take, a little bit less. And so for about half the year, Neptune's direct, and the other half, Neptune's retrograde. So these are very large time periods we're talking about. We've had Neptune direct for the past 6 months, which does create a bit of fog and uncertainty with the things in our external reality, where we're headed, where we're going, where we're putting our energy. There can be a lot of uncertainty when Neptune's direct, with whatever that might be for you personally. And again, we'll look at this in your for your particular signs. But when Neptune goes retrograde, this starts to lift up that fog. Okay, so that's the plus to all of this, is that the fog sort of lifts, and for the next 6 months, we can start to see things in a way that's less confusing, less uncertain, and more clear. Okay, there's more clarity with things. But the caveat to that is that Neptune going retrograde means all of this is now going within. All right, so during the retrograde, there could be this shift now around Friday and going into the next 6 months, where now it's time to go within, confront any essentially illusions, all right, any illusions or things that we feel like we are escaping in our life, to go within psychologically, see if there's any illusions that you've created that you're using to cover up any deep-seated things, any deep-seated perspective, any deep-seated truths, and even traumas and fears. And Neptune is the planet of psychology, about understanding more about ourselves psychologically and spiritually and all of this. So for the next 6 months, going within to do this work. It is excellent for all things about psychology, learning more about yourself that way, or having someone to talk to, whether it's a counselor or a friend or something like that, to help facilitate this process of uncovering all of this deep stuff, these deep things that we've essentially hidden from ourselves, or that we've created illusions during the direct period of avoiding it. Okay, so twofold. One is this week, I think Friday onward, seeing a bit of lift, seeing where we're at. We could even see over the past 6 months, how things have manifested. And then all of a sudden we see it and we're like, oh, this is, okay, we're noticing some things are really good from our perspective. Like, oh, look at where we ended up. Things just kind of serendipitously happened and here I am. But then on the other hand, it lifts and then we're like, oh my, what is this? Because I wasn't seeing this. I didn't see this very clearly before. And maybe that's not as, positive, from our perspective, what the mind's coming up with. So, it's twofold. It's twofold there. But the important thing here is there's a lift. And then we can start to see things a little bit more clear. And on the other side of the coin, we get to go within to start to work on ourselves in terms of, okay, now what can we do so we're not creating more illusions, right, and more cover-ups in our life. And we can start to really see the deep truth, see the deep traumas and fears that we were covering up, that we were using the illusions or the escaping things in our life to cover up, that now come to the forefront for us to become aware of and to accept. Fundamentally, as I always say, it's about awareness and it's also about acceptance. All right, so it's going to be the next 6 months with that. And there could certainly be a shift with this on Friday. So I think that is the most important thing going on this week, is this Neptune going retrograde. But we do have other things going on, and let's go ahead and just kind of give a foundation to where we're at here this week in terms of placements. So we still have a lot of Taurus energy. We have the Sun and Mercury still very much in Taurus, as it has been this whole lunar cycle and even before this, so the past few weeks and even before that. It's been very grounded, okay? It's been from a perspective of us really cultivating our resourceful side, our self-reliance, taking steps slow and steadily based on whatever it is we're focused on at the moment to cultivate greater, essentially, material security in our life, fundamentally with Taurus. But to do that, we do have to cultivate our inner resources and our outer resources to do that. So it's still very much about that. It's still great to be grateful for what you have in your life, materially and otherwise. We could be thinking very steadily with Mercury still in Taurus this week. And I think just taking the time to enjoy things along the journey, take things slow and steadily is just fantastic at this time. It's really grounding us with that Taurus. With that being said, we do have Venus in Aries, and so there is a lot of now active energy since last week with particularly relationships and with the things we do value in life. Okay, but a bit of fire here, a bit of passion, a bit of energy, directness even, and even more clarity about ourselves with relationships, and maybe more initiation in relationships as well. So there's all this fire behind the whole, relationship dynamic of things, and even in the sense of going after what we value in life, what we want to cultivate, what we're attracted to, and it could even be the material stuff, because again, Venus rules Taurus. And so using that fire energy, I think at this time, with all things we value, people, things, whatever it might be, is fantastic. Now, Mars is in Gemini, so since last week as well, I think we're very direct with our communication. I think we're very motivated to understand things, to learn things, to communicate things. And so there's a fire behind that as well, which is Mars. All right, so there's a great motivation there. I think that's a great way to unlock it. And even when we are pursuing the things we want, which is Mars, things we're going after, initiating what we want, we are kind of wanting to learn about it first, or to communicate it, or just get into the mental sphere of it, or maybe think about it. So all of this mental energy, thinking about things, learning things, treating life as a place to learn, is fantastic for anything that does require initiation, action, and again, going after the things we do want in life. All right, so that is the fast-moving planets. I wanted to give a bit of perspective here in terms of where things are, you know, as an undercurrent to this whole week. But let's go and break down the aspects. What are the specific trigger events taking place this week? On Tuesday and Wednesday, we got Mercury forming a couple aspects. One is a trine up to Jupiter on particularly Tuesday, and then a square up to Neptune Tuesday and Wednesday. So here comes Neptune again, right? But let's look at this first in terms of how we'll likely feel this first, particularly the first half of Tuesday. And this is seeing the big picture of things. All right, we got Mercury, our thinking mind, our practical mind, in very supportive aspect to the larger perspective on things. Seeing things perhaps a bit positively, a bit buoyantly, a bit open-minded. All right, so anything that does require that can be excellent. Whether it's reading, writing, communication, with Jupiter, maybe philosophy, higher learning, astrology, maybe a bit of adventurousness in your routine, mixing things up in the sense that you're more open and, adventurous and going outside, going for a walk, things like this that expand your horizons can be excellent. But what I think is really expanding here is the mind. It's more of the practical mind expanding. So again, anything that does involve understanding or perspective or learning really has that buoyancy about it, and just thinking positively in general. But then as we get into the later part of Tuesday and into Wednesday, that Mercury squares up to Neptune. Now, Neptune's still going to be direct, right, up until Friday. So there could be with this, yes, some confusion, some fogginess, maybe some doubts. And so here's where we can really work on developing our trust. All right, understanding that things do come in divine timing, that there is a process of letting go, of surrendering, trusting our intuition as well. If there's anything that does require your mind to make a decision or figure something out and it needs to be made, maybe listening to that intuition. Otherwise, maybe it's not good to make that decision or something just yet, because again, Neptune is blurring things, right? It blurs the lines. So there's that perspective of trust, trusting your intuition, trusting the divine process. And also too, maybe finding some healthy ways of getting rest. Because again, Neptune, in an unhealthy expression, is the side of ourself that wants to escape, right? And might create illusions or things, habits, or whatever, to escape reality. But in the square, maybe there are some healthy things you can do to get a bit of rest, to get a bit of peace in your life, tranquility. And that can be very constructive when utilized in healthy ways. Meditation, prayer, yoga, spiritual activities, whatever it might be. Maybe just, again, initiating some rest in your life in a healthy way can be helpful and perhaps important at that time. So that's the first few days of the week, really few days here, very much involving Mercury, the mind, thinking, routine, involving those two key areas, both seeing the big picture, yet needing some sort of trust and integration with, healthy peace in our life, healthy trust. So then as we get into Thursday here, the sun opposes up to Saturn. And again, this is nothing new because last Thursday we had the full moon, and that full moon was conjunct Saturn. And so likely since last weekend, or since around Thursday of last week, if you did gain any insights, first of all, it is an excellent week to be implementing these insights, okay? To actually be moving things forward. It very much was a status check time. And we noticed some things were working, some things were not. And so this week is excellent to continue to cultivate and develop what we do want to see into the future. But with that being said, it was involving Saturn. And now Saturn's opposing up to the sun, which means that maybe some of this stuff is taking time. Right? Maybe it's taking time. Maybe it's requiring some persistence and some patience in general. So I think that could be very important here on Thursday, is taking the time. There might be a bit of frustrated energy, perhaps, if we're trying to go too far into the sun side of things, right? Because this is an opposition, so it does require balance. If we go too much into the sun and we're neglecting responsibilities, we're not being true to our responsibilities and structures in our life that we've built thus far. We want to maintain that. We want to maintain those structures without tipping the scale. But if we go too far into the sun energy, then that's when it can feel very limiting and frustrating, right? But vice versa, you know, it's important not to go too far into just the responsibilities and the structures and neglect your excitement. You know, that's the sun energy. Bring in some excitement. This is about balance here. Specifically here, this middle part of the week, balance between maintaining your responsibilities in life while at the same time listening to your excitement and just being patient with the whole process. Okay, then as we get into that Friday time, that's when Neptune goes station. So oftentimes when there's a station and then a shift of direction like there will be here with this retrograde, things might shift. Okay, so you may notice that, again, the fog lifts, or there's a shift where now you're going within. Maybe your intuition is very heightened. And it could very well be the case with the moon over Neptune at this time. All right, so things are really getting heightened here from the internal, deep psychological aspects of ourself. So again, really good on Thursday, again, to confront anything that does come to the surface that you may see was something you were creating an illusion with or hiding away from or escaping from, right? And then accepting it, being aware of it and accepting it. And really just because it's such a receptive energy with Neptune, you know, just really that's almost all it takes sometimes is really acceptance with Neptune. That's as far as it goes. It's very hard to do that because it's very deep-seated, right? So outer planet has to do with very deep aspects of our psyche. But through that acceptance, we find more peace in our life. And in this case, we understand more about ourselves psychologically, deeper, and that can create peace with ourselves, with where we're at, where life is headed, just because we're more accepting in nature. All right, and then, yeah, seeing where we're at, because the outer illusions are lifting up too, maybe, you know, a bit of clarity, believe it or not, as we go into the next 6 months. All right, and so that's the most important shift, I think, of the week. And then as we get into the weekends, mostly here on Sunday, we have a couple aspects. Mercury's going to be opposing up to Saturn, just like the sun was earlier in the week. So we are seeing the truth, I think, on Sunday. It's kind of hard to avoid it when Mercury's in an aspect to Saturn. So we're seeing things realistically, and we do want to see things realistically. But make sure, again, we're not tipping the scales. We're not seeing things so realistically that it becomes dense or restricted or whatever it is, right? We want to see the truth of the matter, but at the same time, yes, see the big picture, all right? And be patient, slow, and steady. This is really what Saturn's teaching us. I would say Saturn is definitely a very important planet this week to consider bringing in those qualities of the planet, in this case, of patience, steadiness, responsibility, big picture, persistence, okay? But really good for a status check as well, actually, because, again, we are seeing the deep truth. I mean, we're just seeing things realistically. And, yeah, deep when Saturn's in Ophiuchus. But at the same time, the sun is going to be sextiling up to Uranus. So on Sunday, really good for mixing things up. This was the emphasis, as I said, the past few weeks anyways. So maybe just expressing ourselves in unique ways, thinking outside the box or seeing things outside the box, and maybe an opportunity here to enjoy some freedom in our life, enjoy some excitement. It's not a major aspect, but it is just an opening to do that. All right, so that is the week in a nutshell. Just to sum this up, yes, this whole cycle, this whole lunar cycle is still about Taurus, and I think it's still great to access our inner resources, our outer resources, you know, through that awareness, which is the sun, stabilizing energy, keeping things grounded, especially with all this opposition up to Saturn still, just seeing the big picture, being patient with things, because this is still the status check part of the cycle that we are still building things into the next 6 months that do take time. Right, and so it's important to have that. With Neptune going retrograde and the moon activating that, particularly on Friday, there is this shift where, you know, the second half of the week, things start to lift up a little bit in terms of any fog or uncertainty that we've had. And then it really, you know, brings up what we have been perhaps unconsciously doing to, you know, to blur our reality, to escape our reality, to not really see the truth of where we're at. Okay, so doing the inner work as well for the next 6 months to learn more about ourselves psychologically, spiritually, right? And where we can accept more truths, accept more things in our life. All right, so that's the most important thing, I think, with the retrograde, with this placement. There's still fire in those relationships with our values. There's still, you know, a lot to learn. I think there's a lot of motivation for learning and communication at this time. And yeah. And I think that is the week generally. So at this point, let's go and look at this individually for all the signs. There's timestamps down in the comment section. You can click the timestamp next to your sign, and it'll take you directly to your segment of this video. All right, Aries, welcome to your segment of this weekly forecast. So let's just do a quick recap. You got Venus in your first house, which is good for relationships. They could be emphasized. Values could be emphasized at this time, maybe finances. But it's a really good time to just maybe feel good. Maybe you're looking good. Some of you maybe getting some new clothes, going to the salon or something, that kind of thing. Really good time for that. But really just attracting the things you value in life, whatever way you do that, or just enjoying, being grateful for what you have in your life, both materially and with your relationships, and that can be a really good force to kind of work with. Now, this whole cycle of this whole lunar cycle has really been involving your second house of your resources, again, both inner and outer resources. So it could be things like finances, investments, savings, but maybe just your sense of self-worth and self-reliance, just getting more, involved with your own personal, stability and security in your life, security with yourself, but also security with tangible things. So that's continuing, of course. That's the source of energy with the sun here. Mercury's here. You're thinking about it. Your ruler is in the third house. So, of all the signs, you and, let's just say your sign here, really good for learning, right? So really good for communication. If you're, exchanging ideas with others, if it's more external like that, or maybe some of you are taking courses, something like that. Some of you might just be doing more reading, which is really good. Some of you are writing. So all of this more tangible, mental stuff is really excellent right now. It could really be emphasized. And you will have a new beginning with some of these things here in about a week or two, once we have that new moon in that third house there. And you could be, yes, very direct actually with your communications as well. All right, so let's look at the aspects. Yes, that Neptune is going retrograde. That is going to be on Friday. So there is a shift taking place, and I think a lot of this does have to do with your ideals. Neptune's been transiting your 11th house of your ideals for a very long time, and he does go retrograde once a year. So now it's this time to go within with this area. Have you been maybe using ideals to hide things, to cover up things in your life that you don't want to confront or admit or accept, really? Or maybe there's just other types of illusions and things that are covering up your true ideals. So what I think fundamentally here is so important is that there's going to be a lift of a fog here around Friday, and give it time, of course, because Neptune does have to gain momentum. But there is this shift where all of a sudden you're now seeing how things are unfolding, or how things are rather, in the now moment, in regards to your hopes and wishes, in regards to the things that you aspire towards or have aspired towards in the past, and this is where you're at now. So now seeing that and going within to see if there is anything that you can become more aware of and accept about yourself or about your aspirations generally, that can be very constructive, because again, Neptune's in the square, so it's all about this constructive energy of really challenging ourselves to do that, and as a result we can't really see this truth. And through this process over the next 6 months, you could be maybe reworking your ideals because of this illusion lifting, and reworking your hopes, your wishes, your future projection, future things that you want to strive for and achieve, your dreams in life, really, with Neptune in the 11th. But a lot of you too, maybe this is involving your network circles or your friends. Maybe in that area, now it's a great time to redo this area because that fog will lift, right? And you're seeing the truth there. And maybe, accepting some, again, traumas or fears associated with community or friends or network circles or groups, organizations you're a part of, if it is more on that social side for some of you there. All right, so that is the retrograde. Now, that Tuesday and Wednesday, Mercury will be squaring up to that Neptune. So again, these couple days coming into the week, I think it'll be important to have some faith and trust, as best as you can, with some of these ideals or with some of this community-related stuff. That could be good and healthy for you. Again, it's helping you cultivate your resources at this time. And the sun will be opposing up to Saturn here on Thursday. So, with all of this development of your resources, inner and outer, it is requiring this balance with Saturn. Saturn has been, over the past couple of years, helping you really take seriously the deeper side to life, the deep truth, and maybe even do some of this deep psychological work. The 8th house is the house of breaking patterns, freeing ourselves up from bondage, from fear. And Saturn's been helping you do the work to do that. So balance, right? Because with this development of your resources, it's a reminder that then there is all this other stuff in life that is more meaningful, more real, more raw, that goes beyond the material realm of things. And it's about connecting to that, connecting to that, balancing the two. We can't have one without the other. And so it is an excellent time to see the deep truth, while at the same time just be kind of patient with them, be patient with these things, and also be patient too with whatever these resources are that you are cultivating at this time. All right, and then Friday, Neptune goes retrograde, giving you this rehashing, reconsideration here of aspirations, friends, perhaps. And then Sunday, Mercury opposes up to that Saturn. So again, balance between these two areas. It's really all week long with that. And then as a minor note, the Sun does sextile up to Uranus on Sunday. So there can be a bit of maybe unique, different ideas about your resources and about cultivating this stuff. And you could be feeling, again, quite expressive, actually. And maybe it's just more peaceful. Uranus in your 12th house has been helping you already find more peace through, or really more freedom through letting go, freedom through detaching, and that kind of thing. All right, so Aries, this week, the way I would sum this up is, generally things are kind of pivoting here with this Neptune going retrograde. He's been direct in your 11th house of your aspirations. So there has been perhaps a lot of uncertainty about this stuff the past 6 months, but now the fog lifts. It's a great time to go within, see, confront these, just to see the truth, but also at the same time confront these illusions, if we have any, involving this area, so that you can cultivate these aspirations. Neptune is really, throughout this process, helping you cultivate your future hopes and wishes and dreams, but, in a way that's, more accepting, not as controlling, because the opposition of Neptune is like Pisces, like Virgo, is like Mercury. It's wanting to control things, figure things out. But sometimes there's a divine process. There's things larger than ourselves, and Neptune helps us see that. And throughout this process, going within to do that is excellent for the next 6 months here. All right, Aries, so have a fantastic week. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments, please feel free to comment down below. If you'd like a personal reading, looking at the year ahead, there's a link down in the comment section for that as well. So I'm wishing you all the very best, and I will see you all next week. Take care. All right, Taurus, welcome to your weekly forecast. First of all, happy birthday for those of you watching for your sun sign who have your birthdays this week. All of you do have the sun and Mercury in your sign, so it is a really good time for moving your goals forward, just moving the things you want in life forward, being independent in your life, taking initiative, being proactive, all of this stuff. And that's where the energy is. A lot of you are expressive at this time with the sun in the first house. And could be quite active mentally, great time to be learning. Practical stuff could be emphasized, your self-expression, and even finances or your material life could be emphasized as well, which I think you're very motivated towards, in fact. You do have Mars in your second house, so the drive, the motivation, the energy is really behind the things you value materially, whether it's finances, investments, savings, but even just fundamentally, you just having a greater initiative when it comes to cultivating your values, the things you want in life, and accessing your inner resources to make that happen. Now, with all that being said, though, your ruler Venus is in the 12th house, and this is a very spiritual house. So it is, while there's things moving forward and it's active and all this, as I said, at the same time, it's not. At the same time, this is the time of you getting some rest, perhaps, or just having a more receptive approach to life, or getting your alone time, or just allowing the energies to die down a little bit with that ruler in the 12th. And really the 12th house is about finding peace. So where you can find some peace in your life. All right. And that's really the emphasis of this week collectively for everyone. Because again, we are talking about Neptune here. So with Neptune being in your 10th house, he's going retrograde here around Friday. So you'll start to notice this shift where if you have been feeling more, lately, the past many years actually, if you felt uncertain about your career or where you're headed productively, in the big picture aspects of life, okay, that starts to lift up. All right, so with the lifting up, you start to see a little bit clearer where you've kind of ended up maybe since the past 6 months in regards to your career. Some things are great. Some things maybe just kind of flowed and you're like, okay, here I am, and it's ended up this way and it's nice. On the other hand, there's also things that from our perspective, from our mind's perspective, we don't accept. And so it is an excellent time to now, for the next 6 months, to go within and start to re-examine your career, re-examine your work, your productive life, in a sense to where, yes, you can have more acceptance here, more peace here, and maybe even cultivate your dreams with your career in many ways. Neptune is the planet of our dreams, but all in this healthy way of actually, going within to see the truth. Because Neptune is lifting off the fog, and we are seeing the truth. So now, as I was saying in the collective, it's the time to go within here and also see if there's been anything that you have been creating illusions with or escaping involving your work. Maybe your career has been your form of escape. Okay, so do be aware of that possibility depending on your personal chart. But then at the same time, maybe there's some things that you are using to escape in order to not see some truth about your career. And maybe it's both. So yes, use this time now. There's a shift. It's an excellent opportunity, especially this week, to confront these illusions, to confront this truth. These illusions that maybe we've used to hide away, to escape in our reality, and in some capacity might be involving your career or your work here. All right, and then use this time for the next 6 months to redo your work, recreate it, develop it, to have it be more of a connection to your soul, more of a connection to what you're truly about. All right, so I think that's the most significant events here in terms of placements, in terms of this retrograde. We do have a lot of oppositions with Saturn this week. Here on Thursday, the Sun opposes Saturn, but then later on Sunday, Mercury opposes Saturn. So this is a reminder that I think that the whole sphere of relationships has been serious for you these past couple years, or maybe more limiting in nature. So with all this stuff unfolding with yourself and your self-expression and this initiation and independence, I think it's just an important week to still be patient with some of this relationship stuff, but at the same time, develop them. It's a balance of both, and it might be suggesting of putting in the work or the steps to cultivate your relationships in life, all relationships, partnerships, things like that, but be patient in the process. Again, there might be that sort of realistic look at things and frustrating, limiting kind of thing. So just be cool, be patient as you can, see the big picture. This is status check, and there's a much larger thing at work here involving the development of your relationships and also the development of your goals. There could be limitations with that, with yourself and where you're headed and what you want in life. So yes, patience really is key for all of us this week with that. All right, so that is the most important things this week, Taurus. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please like, comment, and share down below. If you'd like a personal reading looking at the year ahead for your specific chart, do get in touch for that. There's a link down in the comment section. So I'm wishing you all the very best week. Have a great one, and I will see you all next week. All right, Geminis, welcome to your weekly forecast. So yeah, let's first look at the fact that you do have a lot of energy in your 12th house, and this is the house of Neptune. As I was talking about in the collective, it's certainly a very dreamy, behind-the-scenes kind of a week. And this is certainly the case for you anyways, and kind of already has been with your ruler and the sun in the 12th house. So this whole cycle, this past month, let's just say generally, it's been involving this, and it is really good to get your alone time at this time if you're guided to. Work a bit behind the scenes if you're guided to. Get some rest, relaxation, R&R, whatever this is. And as I was saying in the general reading, you really get in touch with yourself spiritually. psychologically. Excellent time for learning about ourselves on a deeper level, and meditation, and even psychology in the sense of fears and traumas and all this that we can accept, become aware of and accept, so that we can have more peace and tranquility in our life. So with all of that, though, Venus is in your 11th house, and so I think it is still a really good time to be connecting with maybe your friends or your network circles, or if it's not social like that, maybe your aspirations. All right, there's a lot to attract with your aspirations, and maybe even good fortune as well with your future things, and you get a lot of positive energy with that, with Venus there. Mars is in your 1st house, though, so even though things are behind the scenes, I think you're very direct at this time, very initiating, motivated perhaps towards your goals, towards the things you want in life, your personal needs in life. So utilizing that is fantastic. Just being direct, expressive, and using that those personal needs to propel yourself forward during this time. All right, so let's look at this Neptune retrograde, because this is in your 9th house. This is the house of philosophy. It's the house of travel. It's the house of essentially our life path in many ways. Everything that's about adventure, expansion, open-mindedness, the future possibilities. This has all been very blurred these past many years with Neptune in your 9th house. The future things, the things having to do with possibilities and adventure in your life and expanding your horizons. So as is the case every year, we get a retrograde with Neptune to lift it up. So I think around Friday, you'll start to notice there is this bit of lifting up perhaps when it comes to these possibilities. And you may actually notice around this week that, as the fog lifts, you're looking at where you're at, and serendipitously, you've kind of ended up in a good place, I would say, on some level, with things involving this, with your life path, with travel, with adventure, with philosophy, or things like astrology or higher learning or university for some of you. But at the same time, maybe there are some things as well that the fog lifts and we go, oh my, what happened? What is this? So use this time now for this next roughly 6 months to go within and sort of rework this area, because now you're going to be seeing things a little bit clearer here with this more expansive area of your life, and even of your belief systems too. Not as many illusions with the belief systems. In fact, around Friday, I think it's an excellent time to do that, to see if there is any forms of escape. Ask yourself, have you been using maybe travel, university, philosophy, astrology, more expansive things as a form of escape? Do be aware of that if that's a possibility for you. And then at the same time, maybe there are some things that you are not confronting about that area. In other words, you're using to escape in order to avoid more adventure in your life and more expansion in your life. And it's usually a little bit of a combination of both there. So the fog lifts. I think fundamentally the simplest way of looking at this is to allow yourself the next 6 months to go within, to re-examine and see if there has been any illusions you've created in your life, maybe pertaining to these areas, that that you can become more aware of, accept, and maybe redo involving it. Redo in the sense of just learning more about yourself psychologically and spiritually, which is again already emphasized at this time for you. All right, so that's the most important thing this week, but we do have your ruler opposing up to Saturn later in the week. The sun's going to be opposing up to Saturn around Thursday, your ruler on Sunday. So all week, let's just say fundamentally, Saturn has been helping you the past couple of years get really serious with your routine and your work, all right, your day-to-day activities. And so with all this behind the scenes emphasis, I think it's important to find that balance. How can you get your alone time, work behind the scenes, but at the same time, stay committed, stay true to your daily responsibilities. Maybe it's your work, maybe it's your diet, your regimens, your routine, whatever it might be. Balance really is key. And be very patient this week in general with the ruler opposing Saturn, because as I said, in the general, that's the case for all of us. But when it involves the ruler, maybe this weekend of this week, there is this bit of, I don't know, if you're feeling it, frustration or limitation, or things aren't going as quickly as we want them to. But that's okay. This is, again, part of a much larger picture. Understand this is a part of this really 6 month, but even larger cycle with Saturn that, we're just taking the slow and steady steps. So anything you can do to have self-limitation, patience, persistence with yourself this weekend, I think is fantastic. See things realistically, but not too realistically as well when it comes to maybe these areas, but just generally in your life. Your work, your peace, even the adventurous side, because Saturn does rule that ninth, but just in general. All right, so Geminis, just to sum this up, I think it's an excellent week for you of all signs with all this energy in your 12th house. Yeah, seeing where you can have more peace and tranquility in your life, and just give yourself this bit of a pause right now if you're feeling guided to. Although there is a lot of directness right now with Mars in the first house, and there's a lot to attract with your aspirations and with your friends, with Venus there in the 11th. And then with Neptune going retrograde, yes, maybe there are some things to redo, rethink about in terms of, are you using more expansive stuff in life to escape any of the things associated with the ninth house, or are there things that you're using to escape in order to not see this area, to not see how important it is to have this possibility, this expansive, this more adventurous part of life that is all of our birthright, really. All right, so Geminis, have a fantastic week. If you found this video helpful, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends and family. I'd really appreciate that. But let me know if you have any questions. If you'd like a personal reading, there is a link down in the comment section looking at the year ahead and looking at your specific chart. If there's any areas of life where you just want a general reading to see what specifically is going on for the next year ahead for you. So I wish you all the very best week. Thank you again for all of your support, and I will see you all next week. All right, Cancers, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's have a look at the placements first, just to get some perspective here. You've got this whole cycle very much about your aspirations. You've got the Sun and Mercury in your 11th house of future hopes and wishes. I think it's excellent to be future oriented at this time, whether it's for your personal aspirations, but maybe even to community. Maybe you're more looking at the world, maybe geopolitics or humanitarian at this time. All that can be very fantastic, contributing to things larger than yourself. And on that same token, maybe connecting with your friends, your network circles. This is all the source of energy for you, and it could be very much what you're learning about, what you're thinking about at this time. With that, though, you do have Mars in your 12th, so maybe you're more receptive in the way that you're getting things done at this time. Mars in the 12th can mean that sometimes to get things done and to pursue the things we want in life, we do have to take a more receptive approach, or listen to our intuition, or exert the least amount of energy possible. Find the flow, and then put energy where the flow is. That kind of a thing. And so that's how you're getting things done, and maybe getting a bit of that alone time or rest could be important for some of you. Maybe taking a bit of pause with the career stuff is possible, but the career stuff with Venus in the 10th, I think is great right now. I think there's a lot of fortune. I think there's things you could be attracting right now involving your career or your productive life, whatever you do there productively. And maybe connecting with relationships through your career at this time could be very enjoyable as well. So let's look at this Neptune going retrograde. This is in your 8th house, which is a water house. In my opinion, more of a comfortable place for Neptune to be in, simply because it's more about the same things. But the 8th house is about everything deep. It is about everything psychological. It is about everything that is about breaking of patterns. And so in the general, as I was saying, with this time period right now with Neptune going retrograde being about inner discovery and you know, facing any illusions and whatnot. This is very much the case for you on a deep, particularly on like a subconscious level. So it's almost like now at this time, this sort of fog lifts where you can now see yourself on the deeper self, let's say, or your subconscious self, much, you know, more clear now. There's less of a fog here, less of a haze. In other words, you could see some unhealthy patterns come up. You could see some fears come up, but in a way that it's kind of a relief, I feel like, because now you kind of know what to kind of do. And so I think for the next 6 months, it's an excellent time to use this time period to break some patterns, you know, to do this work, whatever this is, to re-examine yourself on this deep level. Re-examine your fears. Are there any patterns that are repeating in your life that you feel like maybe they're subconsciously driven, that have been repeated during that Neptune direct the past 6 months, that now you know, you can change because not because you're necessarily doing anything, but just simply because you're bringing that conscious light to them, and there's a little bit more clarity with them. So on the same token, though, if there is anything you're using to escape that might be deep, or have been using to escape that might be deep, psychological, spiritual, occult, even shared resources, which I want to talk about a little more specifically here in just a couple minutes. But if there's been anything on the deep level that you've been using as a form of escape, do be aware of that, because sometimes we do that when Neptune's transiting a house. And on the same token, maybe there's some things that you're using to escape, perhaps, that are preventing you from really connecting to the deeper side of life, being vulnerable and open and having transparency with yourself and maybe with your relationships as well. So yes, right, as I was saying in the general, it's a great time to confront these illusions, and I think it might be pertaining to these areas. And now doing this sort of re-examination of yourself on this deeper level, doing this inner work, you could say, over the next 6 months is just fantastic here to, again, free yourself up, to break some patterns, and to really enjoy what matters most in life. So connecting to this now from the shared resources side of things, because sometimes the 8th house can be shared resources, same applies. All right, so on one hand, if there's been anything you're using to escape there, be aware of it. On the same token, if there's anything you're escaping that's preventing you from seeing the truth involving shared resources, and this is either financially, material, or even emotionally, you know, it's depending on others on any capacity, you know, that is what is shifting now, and you've got this opportunity to now re-examine this area on this deeper level, and so that you can enjoy healthy interdependency, healthy reliance on others. Maybe you are relying, maybe you aren't relying, you know, it's that kind of a thing. And so it's all very personal, it's all very deep. And so throughout this process of the next 6 months, allow yourself this time to, yes, explore this deeper dimension of life and to explore this shared area of life, the things we share with others. All right, so, and, you know, also, it's also inheritance, it's also debt, it's also loans, you know, because again, that's involving other people's money. So just to throw that out there, depending on how you're experiencing this. So that's the Neptune retrograde. But yeah, this week, you know, Tuesday, Wednesday, that Mercury squares up to Neptune. So that could be an important shifting time with what I just discussed, taking those steps there. Maybe there's some uncertainty about some of the aspirations. But again, this is about trust. It's about letting go, detaching of everything outside of your control. And then Friday, things start to shift there with that. A bit of fog lifts. And all week, too, you know, this Sun, Mercury, what's getting closer to a conjunction here, is going to be opposing up to Saturn. So while you're still developing your aspirations, remember, too, that Saturn over the past 2 years has been helping you take seriously your self-expression. You know, everything that's close to your heart, or anything you create in life, or that you express, or just simply your self-expression. This has been maybe more limiting lately, but that's because Saturn's been helping you really ground this area, build this area long term, and taking slow and steady steps towards cultivating the things you're passionate about. But be patient with those things. Be patient with your aspirations as well, and you know, see it as balance. You know, your aspirations do need you to have this grounded self-expression, need you to be enjoying what you're doing, and aspired and expressive, while at the same time, the things you create do need you to be thinking big, seeing the future, and being aspired there. All right. So Cancers, hope you all have a fantastic week. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please like, comment, and share down below. If you'd like a personal reading looking at your specific chart for the next year, very detailed, oriented for the next year for you personally and how this is all manifesting for you in a much larger perspective, do get in touch for a personal reading. There's a link down in the comment section for that. So I'm wishing you all the very best week. Thank you again, and I will see you all next week for special reports and the horoscope. Take care. All right, Leos, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's do a quick recap in terms of where all the placements are. You've got your ruler, the sun, and Mercury up in your 10th house of career. I think it's an excellent time for your productive life, future career-related stuff, but anything you do productively. And that's your source of energy, your prana. That's where things are actually unfolding and have been unfolding these past few weeks of this lunar cycle. So that's fantastic. But again, this week, that sun and Mercury are going to be opposing up to Saturn. So specifically for your sign on Thursday, when the sun opposes Saturn, really just being as patient as you can with things, because Saturn's been in your 4th house of home, of location, of family, and quite even possibly for a lot of you, your health. And that's been the area that's perhaps limiting at this time and is taking time, because that's what Saturn's about, is making sure that everything is built groundedly and structured in that area. So do be patient with those things, and also with your career goals as well, productive life, because Saturn is again in this opposition, and we're really balancing the two. We want to be patient with the home, location, health stuff, so we do have a good foundation to do our productive life and our career and stuff like that. And at the same time, we do have to develop our career in order to develop our personal life, our foundations in life. So, it's really merging the two, understand these are two sides of the same coin, and without going to either extreme if you are feeling imbalanced with either one of them. With your ruler, maybe more so with the wanting the career, but I don't know. It depends on your personal chart there. All right, so that's the oppositions there, but let's talk about this Neptune, because Neptune is going retrograde in your 7th house of relationships. So the positive, the easily seen, the easy thing with this, you could say, is that this area lifts up. So around Friday onward, give it some time though, this sort of fog starts to lift with your relationship sphere. And we get to the point where all of a sudden the fog lifts and we see around and we look around and we say, okay, and for you, here's where I am with relationships. Okay, so some of it is nice. Some of it is you've kind of ended up in a place, I think, that is all serendipitous. It's kind of taking you in an area that is actually really good for your relationships in some way. But then on the other, it's also not, right? From our perspective, it's more challenging in the sense that, we're not accepting of where we're at with the whole relationship department. So this is, again, mind you, all relationships. For some of you, it's romantic. Others, it's business partnerships. Even some of you, it's legal. Okay, so do keep that in mind. But generally, relationships, right? So the fog lifts, and now for the next 6 months, you can really examine any illusions that you have maybe had in this area, okay? It might be the relationships themselves. Ask yourself if maybe there's a relationship or something about relationships that you've been using to escape. Maybe it's the perspective of relationships that you've been using to escape reality or your life in some way, living your life in some way. And vice versa. Maybe there are some other things you're using to escape that is preventing you from connecting to your relationships. Okay, and usually it's a little bit of both. So yeah, just kind of see what shifts. The easiest way of sort of thinking about this is that things are shifting in this area. Fog is lifting. And now give yourself the next 6 months to learn more about yourself here, about relationships, psychologically about relationships, and see if there's any fears here. Because, again, Neptune's bringing this up. See if there's any traumas from the past that have prevented you from connecting in this relationship sphere in some way. Okay, and through this retrograde, it's an excellent time for psychology, meditation, spiritual activities to become more aware of for you and your sign, I think, this area. Okay? And as a result, yes, you'll be more accepting in this area, because that's essentially what Neptune's helping you do. Have more acceptance in this area, have more faith and trust, more receptivity about relationships, and also receptivity in your relationships. Right? It's all spiritualizing this, to surrender, to have more peace in our life, letting go of some things, fears, traumas, inhibitions, so we have more peace in our life, maybe involving this area here. Okay, so that's the inner process with Neptune, very powerful, and I think this week is going to be very important for that. Tuesday, Wednesday, that Mercury does square up to it. There might be some uncertainty maybe about the career stuff, it's possible, or your aspirations. But again, before Neptune goes retrograde, kind of just have that trust, take the step back, or whatever that is, faith, and then on Thursday, once it starts to shift, on a level, things become a bit clear, and you can start to, rework and redo this area. All while keeping this balance this week with what is great for you to be focused on your career and your productive life, maintaining the balance, patience with the personal life stuff. Saturn, is in your 4th house of home, family, health, that kind of thing. And and I think that's a great way of working with this week. All right, so Leos, have a fantastic week. Thank you for all of your likes, comments, and shares. For those of you who've been supporting this channel, it's been very helpful. Please do remember to like, comment, and share on this video as well. And if you'd like a personal reading, there is a link down in the comment section for that, looking at your specific chart. So everything we've talked about is obviously very general. And to get a very specific look for the next year, get the 1-hour reading, where there's both a recorded reading and a Skype session. Both are very empowering for your specific chart and your specific life situation and life path. But Leos, have a fantastic week. Thank you again, and I will see you all next week. Virgos, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's have a look at the placements just to get a quick recap of where all your planets are transiting. Your ruler Mercury and the Sun are in your 9th house. This is the house of a bit of adventure, or if it's not physical adventure, like through travel or hikes or walks and things like that, maybe it's your mind's adventure, philosophy, astrology, higher learning, university studies, theoretical stuff. This is all what's been unfolding for you. And, fundamentally your belief systems, your life path, your adventurous spirit about life, spirit for life. And so this is what's been unfolding for you this whole lunar cycle these past few weeks, and even before that a little bit. So that's your source of energy. That's where your focus is. That's what's still unfolding, and it's a great week to continue with all of that. On that token, though, with specifically Mercury opposing up to Saturn over the weekend, it is really requiring balance here. I think Saturn in your 3rd house these past couple of years have been helping you take seriously more of the practical things in your life. Learning, reading, writing, communication, studying maybe. This tangible stuff. And so it's about balance here. I think it's about continuing with those responsibilities in the everyday sphere while still maintaining your expansive view at this time. Seeing the big picture, seeing the theoretical, because we really can't have one without the other. I mean, in order to really develop practical things, we do need to have theory. We have to have inspiration. We have to have possibilities, seeing the big picture, and vice versa. In order to really ground possibilities and potentials, we do need to stay stabilized into the practical, what is real, tangible, implementable, All right, not a word, but you get my point. What can actually be applied? All right, so that's the balance between the two, and just patience this week, again, specifically around Sunday when your ruler does oppose up to Saturn, and just seeing the big picture. It's a status check week of slow, steady steps towards long-term achievement, long-term success, whatever this might mean for you personally. So with all that being said, yes, Mars is in your 10th house, really good for success, of achievement, of career perhaps, productivity. It's going to be the whole area of new beginnings for you next week, or about a week or two, depending on when you're watching this. But yeah, Mars is in your 10th house. So you got the drive and motivation to, put that, drive and motivation into career, into achievement, into success, into your productive life. And so and also too, you got a good vital life force about you. You got the Sun and Mars up at the top of the chart, your ruler at the top of the chart. So there is a lot of that forward moving energy, maybe energized, higher energy, you could say. And again, I think the two key areas which are great for that is expanding your horizons, but then also right now your career, your productive life. All right, Venus is in your 8th, so maybe the things involving relationships are deep still, but I think you can be enjoying this actually, a bit of depth in your relationships, or maybe you're just enjoying some deeper connections in life in general, whether it's with yourself, psychologically, spiritually, maybe you're researching things or uncovering some hidden truths about the world, such as through conspiracies or the occult or things like that. All this can be very enjoyable for you, and I think you're sort of attracting a lot of value from all of that. Now let's talk about this Neptune retrograde, because as I said, this is the shifting thing happening this week here on Friday. This is in your 6th house of your work, your daily work. And so a couple of things happen here. One is that around this time, you'll start to notice that things are lifting up in this area. So if you have been confused about your work or your daily activities or your routine or your diet or whatever, that all starts to lift up a bit so that you can see this area a little bit clear. And it doesn't seem like it's totally clear. It just seems like a fog kind of lifts, and around Friday you might start to look around and see, okay, this is where I've ended up with my routine and my work. And some things got you to this place that was sort of serendipitous, which are great. And then also you kind of ended up in some place that, with these things that maybe, you are more challenging, you don't accept. So it is about accepting where we're at in the now moment with these things. But then now for the next roughly 6 months, doing this work to re-examine this area. And I think the re-examination is particularly with the illusions I was talking about. So asking yourself during this time, and maybe around Friday, have you been using your work or your routine or anything on a daily level to escape, as an illusion, to escape other things in your life or life itself? And vice versa. Maybe there are some things that you've been using to escape your work, other things you've been using to escape in order to avoid something involving your work or your routine or your personal growth and development. So, or your problems in life. 6th house is about problems in life. So it's usually a little bit of both, but however this might manifest for you personally, do give yourself this time to sort of shift and kind of re-examine this area here, where you can really accept, because that's essentially what Neptune's helping you do, is accept all of this stuff pertaining to your work, to where you're at there, or your routine, your diet, your regimens, everything you do on a daily level. And mind you, this is your house, Virgo. It is about organization, finding solutions, things like that. All right, so that's the shift there, and that is the pivotal thing happening this week. Tuesday, Wednesday, your ruler does square up to that Neptune, so it's important. I think those couple days coming into the week, before the retrograde happens, just sort of be as accepting as you can. Find maybe healthy ways of acceptance in your life, meditation, peace, getting your alone time, getting a bit of rest perhaps. And if you're feeling confused or anything like that, again, having a bit of trust and trusting your intuition as well could be very important at that time. That passes after Wednesday. And then again, we have this balance between what's possible and practical, right? As I was talking about, that's pretty much all week long there. And then Neptune going retrograde, helping you re-examine now this area pertaining to really wanting to, because with Neptune, we want to connect to that area, wanting to connect to your work, wanting to connect to your routine, but now doing the work, the inner work, to do all that in healthier ways. All right, so Virgos, have a fantastic week. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends and family. If you'd like a personal reading, there's a link down in the comment section for that, looking at your specific chart, because again, this is very general, and your planets might be in different houses actually. And in the general reading, we're looking at your life path and how things are unfolding for the next year for you personally along your specific life journey. So I wish you all the very best. Have a great one, and I will see you all next week for the weekly horoscope. Take care. Libras, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's look at the placements just to get context here of the aspects that are taking place this week. Your ruler Venus is in the 7th house of relationships. So I think relationships are emphasized for you at this time. I think there's a lot to enjoy with your relationships, a lot to connect to. Just see the value of those in your life, and maybe even form some new relationships during this time as well, because you're enjoying it and you're attracting them to you, and they just have this sort of lighter energy about it, enjoyable energy about them. So with all that being said, though, it is a very deep time, and it could be deep in your relationships actually, with the Sun and Mercury in your 8th house. So it is a time of inner exploration right now, particularly in the sense of facing some fears. The 8th house is about fears. It's about patterns, breaking of those patterns through accepting the fears, through diving deep with ourselves, accepting all dimensions of life. And you're seeing that, the sun is illuminating this area, shining a light here. Mercury's helping you see it as well, practically and tangibly. So you can break these patterns, so you can connect to life on a deeper level and to what matters most, and to have openness and vulnerability in life and in your relationships, right? Vulnerability, openness, trust in your relationships as well. So that sort of conjunction, just getting closer, is opposing up to Saturn this week. So this week is a reminder that with all of this stuff that's unfolding on a deeper level, Saturn over the past couple years has been helping you really connect to your material security, but in a way with responsibility, taking it slow and steadily and patiently. So, understanding that, yes, there's all this deeper stuff in life, but then there's also maybe some of these things we can do, these responsibilities and this patient approach we can take towards cultivating our material life, our material security. And so balancing the two. If you're feeling, like you just want to go into the deeper and all of that, maybe bringing in a bit of the, patient responsibility with your resources, the material, the grounded, the value, the material values. Or if you're feeling very heavy here in the material values, remembering too that life is, of course, so much more than that. It's about connecting to what matters most. All right, so it is about balance, being patient with both as well. Also be patient this week with your transformation, with your change, with the breaking of these patterns that you are doing at this time. And I think you'll find this to be a very productive week with that perspective, from a larger perspective. Now, Mars is in your 9th house, so I think there is drive and motivation towards your inspirations in life, maybe your life path, future things. Maybe you're quite adventurous at this time. Maybe a lot of you are motivated towards philosophy or astrology or higher learning or university studies. Maybe some of you are just going for walks, a bit of adventurousness in your life. And this is going to be the area of new beginnings here in about a week or two when we have the new moon there. But right now, that's where the source of energy is. It's actually a really good house for Mars to be in, where you can be very motivated towards the more expansive things in life. All right, so let's talk about this Neptune retrograde, because that is what I think is the most important thing happening this week. There's a shift taking place for you. It's in your 5th house of your self-expression. So Neptune has been here direct over the past many years. And so if there has been any uncertainty about the things you're passionate about children, romance, creativity, anything that's essentially close to your heart, or that you create or you're passionate about in life, there's been uncertainty about this. So Neptune going retrograde does lift this sort of fog. And I think you'll start to, here around Friday, start to just see things a little bit clearer here and kind of where you've sort of ended up. Now, where are you in this area of self-expression and of things close to our heart and of creativity? And you'll notice some things have serendipitously led you to where you are, and in a positive way. The mind will see the positive side of this, as well as the negative side of it, as well as where we may stand here and go, oh, this happened? Like, what is this? You know? So it's seeing it, and the fog's lifting, so there's a bit of clarity. But the whole purpose of it is so that now for the next 6 months, you can go within. You can see if there has been any illusions that you've been creating in this area or about this area that has been preventing you from really enjoying life and having more peace and tranquility in your life. So asking yourself the questions of, you know, have you first of all been using anything fifth house, anything pertaining to that self-expression as a form of escape? Or has there been a perspective about this area that you've been using as a form of escape? Okay, it's a good question to ask. And then the other one is that possibly, is there anything you're using to escape that's preventing you from expressing yourself, from connecting to this area of life? And usually it's a little bit of both. So, you know, just the easiest way of looking at this is here around Friday. Things are going to be shifting with this area. The fog, and to a degree, is going to lift a little bit. And so now for the next 6 months, just allow yourself this time to confront the inner world, the inner truth, and see if there are any illusions that we can confront at this time so that we can, you know, stop covering it up, basically, and really enjoy life, enjoy the present moment, and connect to, again, what matters most, which is Neptune in a spiritual sense, but also because you have all this 8th house, deeper stuff going on, helping you do the same as well. All right, so that is the most important thing this week. Everything else is a bit minor in comparison to that. As I said, Tuesday, Wednesday, there will be a little bit of a square there with Neptune. So while Neptune's still direct Tuesday, Wednesday, if there's anything you can have faith with, trust with, it's about deeper things, shared resources maybe. You know, that's a whole other thing. The 8th house could be shared resources. It is a really good time of cultivating that area, both shared resources in a tangible sense of like other people's money or shared tangible things, but also too, again, of trust and vulnerability, shared feelings, right, if it is relationships related. But yeah, on the Tuesday, Wednesday time, if there's a bit of square and uncertainty about that or about your self-expression, again, faith, trust, letting go could really help unlock this area. Then it shifts on Friday, where then there's that shift to clarity, as I was saying, this more internal process. And then pretty much all week long, you know, this opposition with Saturn, just maintaining the balance between the deeper side of life as well as the material side of life, and taking the responsibilities there, but at the same time, continue to focus on what matters most. All right, Libra, so have a fantastic week. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please like, comment, and share down below. If you'd like a personal reading looking at your specific transits for the next year and your specific chart, do get in touch for that. There's a link down in the comment section for that. But wishing you all the very best week, and I will speak to you all soon. Take care. Scorpio and Ophiuchus, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's have a look at these placements just so we can get some context here and in the sense of where everything's at. You do have your ruler Mars in the 8th house of everything deeper in life. I think that's really being emphasized at this time. Will be for the next few weeks at least, probably about the next month actually. So it's a great time to be really diving deep. And this is what your sign's about anyways. You know, diving deep to connect to the truth. And the truth of life, the truth of ourself, the truth of our relationships maybe. But the truth and connecting to what matters most in life. So it makes it a great time for research, uncovering hidden things, whether it's conspiracies about the world, which are a lot of them are actually very true, or maybe it's about a cult, uncovering hidden spiritual truths, or maybe it's just research in general. Maybe it's about yourself psychologically. You know, the 8th house fundamentally is the house of breaking some patterns, facing some fears, right? Breaking those patterns that keep us caught up into those karmic cycles. So anything deep is excellent. And I think fundamentally just having a vulnerable perspective of life, you know, being willing to go deep is excellent. And that could really be benefiting you, your relationships, and all areas of life, generally speaking. Now, speaking on relationships, you do have a lot of energy here. You've got the Sun and Mercury in your 7th house. And so this is the house of all one-to-one connections. And I think there's a great focus here with the Sun. You could be gaining a lot of energy through one-to-one connections at this time. Communication could be strong at this time involving that area with Mercury. And yeah, it's all part of this cycle. This whole cycle these past few weeks has been about you developing this area. So it's a solar cycle of a yearly sense, but also a monthly cycle as well. And I think it's an excellent week to continue to develop those one-to-one connections. Now, Venus is in your 6th house of your work and your daily activities and your routine and your diet and your regimens, things like this. So that's an area of attraction, of enjoying it perhaps. Enjoying your routine, enjoying your work. Some of you maybe even connecting to relationships through your work or your routine. All of that is, you know, you're attracting that stuff to you. It's enjoyable. And because it's enjoyable, it could be unfolding for you, you know, moving forward here. So let's talk about this Neptune retrograde, because I think this is the most important thing this week. This is going retrograde on Friday. And this is involving your 4th house. The 4th house is the house of home. It's the house of our past. It's the house of family. And it's also the house of our health as well. So if these things, which you can sum up as the foundations of our life, have been uncertain, have been confusing or doubtful, if any of these things have been like that for you for the past many years, actually, because Neptune's a very slow-moving planet. It's been in your 4th house for a very long time. That now starts to lift in a yearly sense for the next 6 months. And so we, first of all, get a bit of clarity here with this area. Things involving home, health, location, family start to, you know, clear up in a little bit. And you kind of stand there and you're looking around. You say, okay, some things have unfolded in a serendipitous way that's led me here to where I'm at. Something's good, something's bad, whatever the perspective of the mind is. But here we are. And so for the next 6 months, give yourself this time to go within and see how you can sort of learn more about yourself on a deep psychological area about this area, all right, in a deep psychological way about this area. And, you know, also too, ask yourself if maybe these roots have you been using them as a form of escape? Have you been using them as a form of illusion in your life, from, you know, in order to prevent you from connecting to life? I don't know. Maybe it's family for some of you. Maybe it's health. Maybe that's not it. Maybe the other side to it, but often it's a little bit of both here. Maybe the other side to it is that there's other things in your life that maybe you're using as an escape in order to prevent you from connecting to this area. Home, family, health. Okay, so ask yourself the question. It's usually a little bit of both of that. And I think you'll find this to be a very fruitful time over the next 6 months of just going within, confronting these illusions, accepting these deep fears and traumas, whatever it is we're really trying to avoid and escape from, either about this area or pertaining to this area, you know, either it specifically or it being a medium for escaping of other things. Yes, it's a great time to do that. So retrograde, it's an internal process, and then there's also a bit of a lift too with more of the external stuff there. All right, and then let's not forget too that Saturn is opposing up to the Sun and Mercury. So pretty much all week long here, there's this balance needed. I think that although things are unfolding for you with relationships, Saturn in your 1st house has been helping you take, you know, your responsibility of things in your life generally. Maybe it's the responsibility of your goals. Maybe it's the responsibility of yourself, you know, self-responsibility. maybe, you know, whatever it might be, but it's your first house. So it's the foundation of your life. It's just fundamentally those responsibilities. So be patient this week, as I was saying, for all signs, but I would say specifically for your sign and other signs, but your sign as well, because you do have Saturn in the first house, suggesting that it's about taking things one step at a time. Saturn's been really helping you develop this maturity, this groundedness, this responsibility over the past couple of years. And so holding on to that, just being patient with this stuff, with who you are, with your goals, with your independence. And at the same time, yes, cultivate those relationships, because your relationships do need you to be independent, clear on who you are, stable, grounded, and vice versa. You need relationships in your life, obviously, as we all do. So it's a balance of both. All right, but Saturn is about the patience there, just taking it one step at a time for all of us, involving probably those key areas. All right, so Scorpio and Ophiuchus, that is the week in a nutshell. I would say certainly this Neptune retrograde, things shifting here with these foundations in your life. And with Neptune forming all these aspects, I think it's excellent to be sort of focused on the fact that Neptune is helping us have more peace in our life, more tranquility, and maybe the key to all of that lies here in the 4th house. All right, so hope you all have a fantastic week. Thank you for all of your likes, comments, and shares. If you'd like a personal reading, there's a link down in the comment section for that, looking at your personal chart for the next year ahead, looking at your specific life path and how these transits, and of course a much larger yearly transits, are involved for you personally. But sending you all the very best, and I will see you all next week for the weekly horoscope. Take care. Sagittarius, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's have a look at these fast-moving planets, see where everything's at, just as a sort of recap here. You do have the Sun and Mercury in your 6th house of your routine, your work, and your daily activities. So I think over the past few weeks, it's been excellent for you to be cultivating this area, whatever you do on a daily level. And that's your source of energy, that's your prana, that's what you're thinking about. And that's where things can continue to unfold with that. So great to challenge yourself and continue to develop those things. Mars is in your 7th house of relationships. So I think a lot of you are very direct in your relationships at this time, or very motivated towards them. So that can be unlocked continuously here this week. Motivating yourself there, being direct there, independent through your relationships, and just using whatever that motivation is to cultivate your one-to-one connections. Now, Venus is in your 5th house of creativity, of fun, of playfulness, everything close to your heart. So an excellent week for enjoying these things close to your heart, or you expressing yourself or getting creative, whatever it might be. So yes, a good enjoyment to be had there. You're attracting a lot of these things you're passionate about at this time as well. Could be romantic for some of you, actually, that kind of attraction there. But just having a bit of playfulness, a bit of self-expression, a bit of creativity can be very enjoyable at this time. All right, so let's look at this Neptune retrograde, because that is what I believe to be the most important thing this week. This is going on in your 3rd house. So over the past many years, if you felt confused in general, the 3rd house is the house of our mind. It's the house of practical understanding. But more tangibly, it's the house of everything that has to do with books, writing, communication, even business and trade as well. So if any of those things have been confusing for you generally these past many years, now Neptune going retrograde for the next 6 months in this yearly cycle gives you a bit of a lift here. And the lift is kind of like, it won't be as confusing because it sort of clears up a little bit. You know, the fog clears up. And so now you can see here around Friday how things are in this area. How is the communication? How is the reading or writing or courses or learning or whatever you're doing practically there, and business or trade and exchanging, your community even. And even siblings, if this is involving siblings for some of you. But it clears up, and now for the next roughly 6 months, we get to go with him and start to examine this area and rethink this area. And the re-examination is really about the whole idea of, as I was saying in the general reading, possibly using this area as a form of escape, okay, or as an illusion. And so you do want to ask yourself, maybe around Friday, is there anything involving practicality, busyness, the mind, exchanging, community, information that is that you might be using as a form of escape? And if so, you know, now you have this time to really go deep and see why. What is it that you are avoiding, not wanting to confront, and help you. And then through that process, it's helping you really connect to life and be at peace and more tranquil and more accepting, which is what Neptune helps us do. Now, on another token, if it's not like that for you, maybe it's that there's other things in your life that are preventing you from connecting to your practical side. All right, to communication, to learning, to courses, things like that. Is there anything else that you're using as an escape in order to avoid healthy communication, healthy learning, healthy mind? And so asking yourself those questions might be very helpful. And again, it's a subtle energy, so give it time. Neptune's got to, you know, move retrograde and gain some momentum here, and it's 6 months. But excellent to re-examine this area in general and see if there is anything that you can become more aware of about yourself on a deeper level. And maybe, again, face some traumas or fears involving it and really accept the truth about this area or through this area, regarding this area in some way, is helping us find that peace and tranquility. All right, so most important thing, I think, this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, that Neptune does square up to Mercury. And so on those couple days, if there's anything that you do feel doubtful or uncertain about involving your work or your routine, maybe involving relationships, maybe involving your career, having that faith and trust, letting go of everything outside of your control with that. And then Friday, things shift a little bit with that. And one important thing I think about this whole week is, just as a general concept, is that, you know, with all this 6th house energy, it's opposing up to Saturn in your 12th. Saturn in your 12th, over the past couple years, has been helping you really take seriously healthy ways of escaping, right? Healthy ways of finding peace in your life. And letting go of unhealthy ways. So, you know, throughout this week, I think it's important to take that stuff seriously. You know, if maybe for some of you it's habits, it's routines, it's things that we normally do that we can break some patterns with, maybe break some addictions with, maybe for some of us, you know, whether it's physical addiction or just, you know, it could be anything. Sometimes it's computers or the diet or whatever. So, be aware of that. I don't think it's going to be, again, I think it's already been kind of at play here. It's nothing new, but just still maintain that responsibility, maintain that patient, grounded approach to finding healthy forms of escape, healthy forms of peace. I'm using the word escape just to keep the context here, but it's really just find healthy forms of peace in your life and rest, because it's really what Saturn's helping you develop in healthy ways. And at the same time, you know, continue to develop your work, your routine, and maybe just, you know, be patient with that stuff as well. Okay, because it's needing both. It's needing, you know, this is suggesting that your routine is needing this bit of rest. Your life is needing a bit of rest, or this more tranquil energy, this more accepting energy, and vice versa. Maybe there's some actual physical activities you can do that will help you have more peace, like meditation, or like, you know, getting rest, or a retreat, or spiritual activities, whatever that might be for you personally. All right, so Sagittarius, that is the week in a nutshell. Hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please like, comment, and share down below. If you'd like a personal reading looking at your specific chart for a full hour, either recorded or live via Skype, do get in touch for that. It's very powerful. There's a link down in the comment section for that. So I'm wishing you all the very best week. Thank you again, and I will see you all next week. Take care. Capricorns, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's have a look at these fast movers just to get some context here. You've got the Sun and Mercury in your 5th house of self-expression. You know, it's still an excellent week, as it has been the past few weeks, of developing your self-expression, having a bit of fun in your life, enjoying yourself, creativity, fun, playfulness, romance, spending time with children if there's children in your life. You know, anything that is fun and also close to the heart is really great to be developing at this time. And some of you, maybe it's more tangible, right? Because you're Capricorn, so maybe it's your work. Maybe you're creating something there. Maybe it's small business for some of you, things like that. But fundamentally, self-expression. And I think this week, it's important to balance it because your ruler is going to be opposing up to the Sun and Mercury off and on throughout this week. And your ruler has been in the 11th house of your aspirations. So if over the past couple years you've been taking your future aspirations seriously, you know, your hopes and wishes for the future, continue to do that. I think you already will be, but just be patient with the whole process. Take it nice and easy. Watch any extremes because it's an opposition. So you may feel like just going into the fun, the self-expression, or more of the things close to your heart with that, or just in general. But we don't want to tip the scales, right? It's really that our aspirations need us to be, yes, enjoying what we're doing and expressing ourselves, having a bit of fun, playfulness, romance, and all of this. But at the same time, maintaining the responsibility. So balance is key. And, you know, even too, what your self-expression really needs, I feel like, is aspiration, right? What the side of you that wants to have fun and enjoy life needs these aspirations. So it's about developing both, being patient with both, because, you know, Saturn is in opposition. And I think through this process, you're just taking things one step at a time, again, continuing to develop these areas in a solar sense of really of the whole year. All right, so along with that, you do have Mars in your 6th house of routine. So there is a lot of drive and motivation, I think, towards your work, your daily work, or maybe it's your routine, diet, regimens, things like that. At least that is a great area to motivate yourself, put energy into. Maybe physical exercise too, involving health and routine. But whatever it is, yes, very good to unlock that drive and motivation towards those daily activities. Venus is down here in the 4th house. A lot of you could be enjoying family at this time, or maybe time at home, or maybe even your health. Your health could be good, or you're enjoying something there involving health. So that's unfolding. I think Venus is very well aspected. She's actually very well placed in your chart, down at the bottom of the chart where she likes to be. So there's just a bit of flow and harmony, and I think you're just seeing the value of these more personal things in life and foundations in life, like home, family, and health. So let's talk about this Neptune retrograde, because this is very important. Neptune retrograde in your 2nd house of finance. So if over the past many years there has been uncertainty and doubt about the financial area for you, or about investments, savings, you know, having more material security in your life, on some level, this does ease up now for the next 6 months with the retrograde. So what I mean by that is here around Friday during the retrograde, things kind of lift up, the fog kind of lifts, and then we get a clearer look at this area, and we notice where things have kind of flowed and where things have ended up. And there's a lot to be very grateful for, where everything's flowed, has helped you along the journey that was serendipitous and kind of came in divine timing. But at the same time, there's also some things maybe about your financial or material situation that, you know, we're like, oh, well, that doesn't seem right. You know, so maybe there's some things to change with that. So for the next 6 months, it's a good time to rework this area. What are some things you can rework about the financial, the material, so you can have more material security in your life? But because it's Neptune, it's not like Mercury or something more tangible. Because it's Neptune, this does have to do with essentially what I consider with Neptune illusion, or at least that's the healthy way of working with it, is to use this time now to see if there has been any illusions, either about this area or through this area, that has been preventing you from having more peace in your life. So some good questions to ask around this time is, first of all, is there anything, let's just say this, is the financial area being used as a form of escape for you? That's a good question to ask. Or if there's anything about the material world that you're using as a form of escape in order to escape connecting to life, to having more peace and tranquility in your life. Okay, and vice versa, and equally as important, and usually it's a little bit of both, asking yourself the question if anything else you've been using as a form of escape in order to not confront this area. You know, if there's been anything else you've been using as an illusion to avoid confronting this area, finances, material security. And so allow yourself the subtle energy over these next 6 months roughly to become more accepting, more aware of, where you can have more peace in your life and really see, in this case, the deep truth about this area, but not in a way of wanting to control it, but in a way of accepting it. Because Neptune, again, is a very receptive planet. It's simply about acceptance, and through that acceptance process, we do free ourselves up and we can find more peace in our life. And here, it's helping you find more peace about financial life. And there could be dreams about it too, you know, dreams about your financial life. But then also at the same time, understanding that we don't want to be bound by finances. We don't want to use the finances as a form of escape of the things that truly matter in life. All right, so I think that's the most important thing. Neptune will be squaring up to Mercury Tuesday, Wednesday from your 5th house, with maybe things involving the 5th house stuff, as I said, close to the heart. If they are confusing or doubtful around that time, kind of detach, let go as best as you can, surrender before Neptune goes direct, because goes retrograde, because he'll still be direct during that. So it still might be confusing or foggy about those things. Maybe about your work as well, it's possible. Maybe about finances. So again, faith is the key there. And then, yeah, Neptune shifts on Friday around there. And so that perspective will shift about those matters. And then, yeah, balance this whole week between your aspirations and still having a bit of fun, playfulness, and expressing yourself in the process. So Capricorns, have a fantastic week. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please like, comment, and share your thoughts down below. It helps the community as well. But if you'd like a personal reading, there's a link down in the comment section for that, looking at the year ahead for your specific sign, or your specific chart rather, because these horoscopes are looking at them, of course, very generally. 1/12 of the population is a Capricorn. So it's a very general reading, and the personal readings are looking at your specific chart, your specific life path for what's going on now and the next year ahead. But yeah, Capricorns, have a great week. Thank you again for all of your support, and I will see you all next week. Take care. Aquarius, welcome to your weekly forecast. So let's get some context here. Look at these placements. You've got the Sun and Mercury in your 4th house of home, of family, of health, personal life. And so this is a great area to be focused. Your energy levels might be at a bit of a low in a yearly sense right now, but this is the whole purpose, is for you to be connecting to these more personal things in life. Whether, again, it's spending time at home or with family or whatever it might be there, or, you know, developing your health as well. Really good time for that. So with that being said, though, Saturn, your ruler, is in the 10th house of career. And so from a larger perspective, you know, these past couple years, Saturn's been helping you really be patient with this area. And I think it's going to be an important week for that, because the Sun opposes Saturn, Mercury opposes Saturn this week. So patience with these things. I think it's patience of both, you know, just taking things nice and slow with a bigger picture, productive things in your life, one step at a time, maintaining your responsibilities, all right? Because we don't want to tip the scales. We don't want to just neglect this area. So maintaining your responsibilities there. But at the same time, yes, developing your health, your personal life, your home life, your family life, because we can't have one without the other, of course. And so this week is about patience with both, balance with both, and just taking both of those areas one step at a time. So with that being said, you do have Mars in your 5th house of self-expression. So a lot of you are very direct with your self-expression right now, which is fantastic. Some of you may be motivated towards creative pursuits or fun, playfulness, anything that sparks that inner flame. Venus in your third house, you could be enjoying maybe reading, writing, communication at this time. So anything involving your practical mind or learning can be very enjoyable. So let's talk about the most important thing this week, what I feel like is the most important, and this is Neptune going retrograde in your sign, in your first house. So if over the past many years, actually, at this point, I believe 10 years Neptune's been in Aquarius, roughly. But these past many years, if you felt like there's been uncertainty about who you are, uncertainty about where you're going, what life is, where you're going on life, in the life journey, about your goals and what you want, this now you get a bit of a pause with this, a bit of a break with this during the retrograde. So for the next 6 months, it lifts this up a little bit, and you'll likely start to feel the shift around Friday. So what this essentially is doing is, like, around Friday, the fog will lift, and you'll start to see that there's a little bit more clarity about who you are, what your goals are, where you're headed. But at the same time, there's also this deeper awareness, because again, Neptune's going retrograde, so it's within, it's internal. This deeper awareness of maybe where there has been some things that maybe you've been using, as we all have and we all do, to escape reality. Maybe it's involving yourself. And these are some good questions to ask, like asking yourself, is there anything involving your identity, involving yourself, that you have been using as a form of escape? Anything about your ego, about who you are, the context of who you are, of understanding who you are, has that been used in any way over the past maybe 6 months or longer to escape life, to escape having more peace in your life and more tranquility? Because this is what Neptune's helping you do in the first house, is to have more peace and tranquility through letting go of the ego, of the self, of the context, the concept, the compartmentalization of self, right? Because we're obviously so much more than that. There's beingness here, helping you develop this. So asking yourself that question, but then also too, is there anything else in your life that you're using as an escape to prevent you from actually connecting to your goals and your ambitions? Usually it's a little bit of both of this. Is there anything anything else, whether it's your career, work, relationships, that you are using to escape life, to escape the connection of you pursuing and taking action and initiative in your life, which is what the first house is all about. So that's some food for thought, but just kind of go easy with this. There's a lot of uncertain energy right now. Neptune's squaring up to Mercury Tuesday, Wednesday before the retrograde, before this shift occurs. So there might be those 2 days, maybe some uncertainty about some of the home stuff, family or health stuff. Maybe it's about you and where you're headed. So again, surrender, letting go as best as you can, detaching when the planet's direct. But then Friday onward, that's when we can really do the work. All right, that's when the Neptune fog lifts. We can go within. We can understand more about ourselves spiritually, psychologically. So use this time. It's excellent to do this. And then, of course, the balance throughout this week. Saturn opposing up to these fast movers. Maintain the balance between your responsibilities with your productive life, and at the same time, still continue to focus on your health, your personal life. All right. So Aquarius, I hope you all have a fantastic week. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends and family. It's very much appreciated. If you'd like a personal reading, there's a link down in the comment section for that as well, looking at your specific chart for the next year ahead, because of course this is a very general reading. Your planets actually might be in different houses, and of course the reading does look at your life path and keeps everything in the context of your life path generally and for the next year ahead. So have a great week, Aquarius. Thank you again, and I will see you all next week. Take care. Pisces, welcome to your weekly horoscope. So let's look at these fast movers to get some context here about what's going on, what has been going on really. You've got the Sun and Mercury in your third house of communication, of learning, of practical knowledge. So this is still very much emphasized, and I think it's a great week to continue with anything that maybe you've started these past few weeks regarding your mind, practical learning, books, reading, writing. Maybe some of you just communication in general, in your life. And maybe for some of you, siblings or community, you know, connecting with your peers, that type of thing. So, and business and trade as well, possibly. So this whole, what's getting closer to a conjunction with these planets is opposing up to Saturn this week. So this is a reminder that this is a week of patience. I feel like Saturn's playing a very important role here. Maybe being patient with some of these practical things, whatever it is for you personally. But Saturn's been in your second house, or excuse me, your ninth house of adventure, of travel, and that area might be quite limiting. So do be as patient, you know, adventure, travel, also philosophy, also higher learning, anything that expands your horizons. So do be patient with these things. Okay, be patient with this more expansive stuff in life, and even the spirit for life, which is the ninth house. And take it nice and slow, because this is saying this is part of a much larger cycle here. Saturn is helping us, you know, build this area. It takes time with Saturn. Saturn's helping us teach us these lessons of time. And so when we're on the side of Saturn, in this case, we are being patient, responsible, taking things slow and steadily. You're going to find it is helping develop in time your expansive stuff in life, whether it's adventure, travel, philosophy, higher learning, university studies, your belief systems about what's possible in life. All this stuff is being built in a grounded sense. And then again, also the patience too with the practical, because, you know, without possibility and taking responsibility seriously, we can't really develop these practical things in life, you know, tangible things in life. And without our belief systems, without seeing the big picture of what's possible, can we develop these tangible things in life, and vice versa. We can't develop possibilities without getting tangible, without getting practical, realistic, grounded, you know, utilizing the actual result of things, which is the third house. So very important opposition. I think just patience is key, maybe pertaining to our whole understanding, our whole perspective, which is what this axis is about. Now, Venus is in your second house of finances, so it's an excellent week for attracting maybe some finances or enjoying the simple pleasures of life, enjoying the material life a bit. There's some easy energy about that. I think you can enjoy it. And yeah, just see the positive side of all that. Mars is in your fourth house of home, family, and health. So these personal things you could be very motivated towards. In fact, your motivation, your drive is likely at a yearly low at this time. But the way you can unlock this energy is, I think, channeling it towards your intrinsic values. You know, home, family, your health, you know, those you're sentimentally connected to, those close to your heart, your personal life, maybe reflecting on the past a bit, those kinds of things. And maybe even your health actually could be very motivating as well. Physical exercise could be too. So yes, that is the emphasis of the drive and where everything's taking you with your motivations, is on the personal side of things. But let's talk about your modern ruler, Neptune, going retrograde. So, you know, usually, as a lot of you know, I look at the traditional rulers, but when there's a significant event, I will look at the modern ruler. In this case, your ruler going retrograde for the next 6 months and having all these aspects taking place. I think it's a challenging time, but there's a way to work with this constructively. And I think where you can challenge yourself, which is what I believe is, you know, the best way of handling any type of challenging time, if you are feeling it more like that, is to challenge ourselves. And challenging yourself with yourself spiritually. Okay, as I was saying in the general, but Neptune is in your 12th house. This is the house of spirituality. And so Neptune, it's Neptune's house, first of all. It's very well placed. So it comes easy, where the lessons you're learning about spirituality are about letting go, about surrender, about faith and trust. And during the retrograde here around Friday, there might be this sort of shift where now all of a sudden you start to see yourself, your deep psychological self, your spiritual self, a little bit clearer. And maybe you do see that there are some fears or some traumas or some wounds that are coming up for you to accept. And it's through that acceptance process we find peace and tranquility in our life, which is what Neptune's about. It's what the 12th house is about. And it's very intuitive as well. It could even be very, very in tune, very intuitive, very sensitive intuitively here around Friday, or maybe all week long. So the whole purpose of all this is that. But what you might notice here around Friday is that there's this shift where there's now all of a sudden this fog lifting about this, and really asking yourself if there's been anything that you have been using as a form of escape in order to escape life. to escape living life and to have more tranquility in your life, real healthy tranquility through faith and trust and living life. Because the 12th house is the house of escape. It is the house of, everything we might do to avoid living life. So ask yourself that question if there is. And again, your personal chart depends on this more so, but generally for all of you, maybe to a degree, this is true. So see if there is anything you are using as a form of escape. Use this time for the next 6 months to become more aware of it and really just accept these, what it is we're avoiding. Maybe again, it's fears, maybe there's traumas, etc. And through that process, just by bringing that conscious light here, this process is happening very naturally. So for the next 6 months, give yourself a bit of a pause to do this, or to get your alone time, or whatever this is, to have more healthy peace in your life through healthy means. And I think you'll find this next 6 months that you're changing. There's a lot to learn about yourself with your modern ruler retrograde, and just do the re-examination process, learning just a lot about life in general. All right, so very important, very impactful. Early in the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, that Neptune does square up to Mercury. So before Neptune goes retrograde, if you do feel any uncertainty or doubt, this is more general for all of us. Those 2 days, again, faith, surrender, let go of everything outside of your control can help you with that. But then Fridays when things start to shift. And I think there's a whole new perspective about life, about spirituality, about yourself psychologically, about beingness. It can be very freeing, actually, but it's calming. And through the acceptance, it's even more calming. And clear. There's a bit of clarity with all of that. And then maintaining the balance, too, I think, throughout the week between what's practical and what's possible. All right, the big picture and the immediate with those oppositions between Saturn, the Sun, and Mercury. All right, so Pisces, have a fantastic week. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends and family on social media. It's very much appreciated. If you'd like a personal reading, there is a link down in the comment section for that as well, looking at your specific chart, looking at your life path and how this whole year is unfolding for you personally. So I wish you all the very best. Thank you again, and I will see you all next week. Take care.